take your idea and make it real using a combination of Google Sketchup and the MakerBot desktop program. In front of you see a wall full of icons, and each one of those is a jumping off point to a specific part with a lot more information. Right now, we're going to get started in Google Sketchup, and that means learning how to move around. If you need to learn how to move around in Google Sketchup, it's as easy as clicking this icon right here. Alright, so the first thing you do is you want to make a three-dimensional model out of something, and that means starting with shapes. There's a great shape tool right here, and there are options for shapes. I'm going to start with the basic rectangle and draw it directly on the ground like this. Then I can use a tool called push-pull to make that shape into something three-dimensional. If you want to learn more about making shapes, click on this video. As you continue building your shape in Google SketchUp, you may find you want to take and create a hollow space for things to sit. If you simply click and delete a side, that looks good enough, but if you look here, these edges are super thin, and thin edges or edges that don't line up and match up and touch exactly all the way across create gaps that your printer software won't know what to do, so instead it will actually fill the whole thing in to make a solid brick, which is not what you're looking for. So the right way to do things, or one way to do things, is to use this offset tool, and it will make an exact duplicate of this that you can then use the push-pull to push back and create your hollow space. Want to learn more? Click here. Another way to customize your shape is to use one of the line tools, whether it's the straight line tool for making straight lines or the curved line tool to make curves. I'm going to use this 2-point arc, so I can click here and there, and then push one way or the other. Then use again the push-pull tool to be able to push this across, and if you keep going all the way across, it'll actually make this disappear. If you want to learn more about cutting away, use this video. You may also find that you're having trouble making exactly the shape that you want to using simple tools like push and pull or the shape tool. So with that, you may need to use one of the line tools to make a more specific shape, and the either eraser or the delete button on your keyboard to be able to make that shape happen. So right now I'm going to use the eraser. There. There's a nice kind of chamfered corner. If you want to learn more about making complex shapes, click here. Okay, there are times you may need to erase parts to make your model be what you want it to be. So the erase tool is a fantastic tool for that. It's able to erase the end corners, lines and edges. It can't erase an entire side. For that, you need to select the side and press delete on your keyboard. Click here to find more. Your idea may call for more than simply creating and adding shapes and deleting lines and refilling sides. You may need to simply move and stretch things, and for that there's a move tool that I can use to click on things like edges and slide. That green line tells me I'm going in line with the green axis, which is straight forward and straight back, to build out the shape that I need to. Want to learn more about moving things around? Click here. There may be times you need to do something much more drastic. You have the basic shape, but it's not quite exactly what you want. So there's a tool called Scale that allows you to take and stretch existing shapes and distort them in any way you need to. First, I'll select the side. There we go. And click this, grab here and stretch in the direction I need. And now it's a much different shape than it started out. To find more about stretching using scale, click here. Okay, once you think you're ready and you're finished, you want to make sure you scan back over to make sure all the edges line up. There's no thin spots because that's going to cause you to have to come back and do some work because it doesn't do well with gaps. Next, we're going to hit File and use Export to export a 3D model. Give it a name, save it as an OBJ file. OBJ and STL files are good files for 3D printers. If it says Collada, you're going to want to change that to OBJ. Hit Export. It'll give you this kind of results page, and now you have a file ready to go to your printer. Want to learn more? Click Exporting to 3D Print. All right, so you're ready to actually use the MakerBot software. It's time to go find the OBJ file that you created in SketchUp, and here's the one I need for this, and hit Open. Oftentimes it will bring it in, sometimes it'll bring it in and it won't fit, so there'll be an extra window to hit place in here. If you want to know more, click this link. Alright, so the next thing to do is check the model. What you're looking for is you want to make sure there are no holes or gaps because the printer will fill them in. And the best way to do that is to rotate your model around using the View button. Rotate it around, and if you see that you can turn every surface to a white or at least a light gray, that means it's fine. All the edges line up with the side beside it. If anything stays pitch black, no matter how you turn it, then you need to go back to Google Sketchup and work on fixing the parts that have holes and gaps, so that when you get done, again, all the sides and edges line up. Want to know more? Click this link. Alright, so next we're going to take a look at this and we're going to work with placing it on the build plate. Right now it is kind of hovering in midair, which is not going to work out for anybody. So instead we're going to use this one to rotate it around so that it is laying flat on the build plate. You're supposed to move it so that it has its largest flat side lying on the plate. Sometimes it takes a little playing with to finally get it there. And then there's this lay flat button that actually puts it down there. So that's the place on build plate. If you want to know more, click this link. Next we're going to resize this to make it the right size that we need. We don't have to go back to SketchUp to do that. We'll just click here on the resize tool and drag to make it larger or smaller depending on what we hope to get out of the printer. The larger it is, the more material it's going to take and the longer it'll take to create it. And the smaller it is, the opposite is true. Alright, next we're going to take a look at seeing what it's going to be when it's finally printed. So there are a couple settings to mess with. One of the settings that's in here is underneath the settings, and it's called Raft. Raft means if it's something kind of top heavy, it's going to build kind of a flat, thin foot for it to set on that I can then cut off later on. Support allows me to be able to support things that are a little off center or things that are kind of lean to one side, so it puts these thin little supports that help hold it up. Infill means how much it's going to fill in between inside the space. If you're making something hollow like a case, then you might want to leave it at 0 infill. 10% infill is enough for a nice strong thing without being too much weight. And the number of shells, that's how thick of layers there are to build around the outside to make it form. 2 to 5 are usually pretty good. I'm going to leave mine at 2. Next, we're going to look at Preview. So Preview is a really powerful tool to make sure that everything else is going to go as planned. In Preview, it simulates creating the piece like it would on the printer, so it breaks it down to instructions that the printer can understand, and you get kind of a preview to see what it's really going to look like. And the bigger you make it, the longer it's going to take to run through this, and also this will also give you an idea of how much time it'll take for this to print, and additionally how much material you're going to need for this to be created. you want to find out more about this one, click here. Alright, so final step, right before printing. The preview's finished. I can tell that it's going to take 10 hours and 24 minutes for this to print. It's going to take about 1/3 of a pound of plastic. That's quite a lot of plastic to make something this size. If I'm happy with that, that makes everything that I needed to, I can go ahead and use either the export button down here at the bottom, or you can also use this export print file button to save this out as a MakerBot file type that the printer can understand. It has all the directions to make the shape and the thing that I want built. And that's it. That's the last thing you need. You need to have that file ready for your teacher so that you can just plug it into the printer, or that you can send, if you're sending one to yourself, send the printer this one so it knows exactly what to build and how to build it.